Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show that's really engineered to help you cut through that just endless ocean of information out there and get straight to the insights you actually need.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. In today's world, information overload, it's not just some buzzword anymore, is it?
Yeah.
It's a constant challenge. Makes trying to be genuinely well-informed feel like, well, a bit of an uphill battle.
It really can.
But it doesn't have to be. That's why we put together each deep dive, really custom tailored for you, our listener. We want to give you that ultimate shortcut to understanding critical concepts quickly, thoroughly, and, effectively.
Precisely. And today, our mission is, well, it's pretty fundamental for anyone with an online presence or even just aspirations of having one. We're diving deep into how to effectively rank with Google. But, and this is really the crucial part, we're not just stopping at the technical side of things, the mechanics. We're going to explore how getting those top spots, those coveted rankings, ties directly into cultivating deep, lasting customer loyalty. And that happens through genuinely engaging and relevant content.
That's right. So this isn't just about, technical SEO tricks or trying to hack the algorithm. We're exploring something much more foundational. What does Google truly value? Because really, at its heart, Google's mission is actually remarkably simple, even if it's ambitious. It's about serving the user. And if you genuinely grasp that core principle, you're not just halfway there. You're basically building a sustainable strategy for digital success.
Exactly. So today, we'll unpack Google's own, quite intricate guidelines for quality and trust. We'll explore the powerful free tools they give you to sort of illuminate your online presence.
Right.
And we'll dissect the very anatomy of what they consider high-quality content. That includes the increasingly relevant discussion around where AI fits into that whole picture. And ultimately, we'll help you understand the diverse intentions behind every single search query someone types in, making sure your content truly resonates with what people are actually looking for.
And like always, we'll connect these insights back to real-world approaches. We'll show how a true, unwavering commitment to quality and user-centricity can translate into tangible, lasting success. Not just in rankings, but really in winning the hearts and minds of your customers. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even begin to discuss how to rank effectively, let's establish a foundational truth. Why does Google Search even exist? I mean, what's its core purpose in the whole digital ecosystem?
That is the perfect starting point, because understanding Google's fundamental mission, it really illuminates everything else we'll talk about today. Their ambition is, well, it's elegantly simple, but incredibly complex to execute. It's to help people find precisely what they are looking for with as little friction as possible. Just think about it for a second. Whether it's a really fleeting factual lookup, like, what's the capital of France, or maybe deep, extensive research for a major project, something life-altering like planning a complex home remodel. Google strives to provide a diverse set of helpful, high-quality, authoritative, and trustworthy search results. That's the goal. And critically, these results are then presented in the most helpful order, often tailored to the individual user's context and their specific intent.
So it's definitely not just about finding any result then, is it? It's much more about finding the right result, the one that genuinely helps the user achieve their goal, whatever that goal might be.
Exactly.
It really speaks to this profound commitment to user satisfaction that I think often gets overlooked when people are just, chasing keywords or rankings for their own sake.
Exactly right. And here's where it gets really interesting for businesses. When a business truly aligns itself with that user-centric core purpose, the benefits become, well, not just tangible, but often transformative.
Okay.
Let's just look at the immense value of improved brand awareness that comes from ranking well. When your website consistently appears near the top of search results, your visibility to potential customers doesn't just increase a little bit, it absolutely skyrockets.
Yeah, I can see that.
And consider this, Nielsen reported that a staggering 70% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations.
70%, that's huge.
It's massive, and it directly ties into how those top search results inherently boost trust and credibility. People just inherently perceive higher-ranked sites as more reliable, more authoritative, more trustworthy, and that perception, in turn, makes them significantly more likely to actually engage with your brand.
That's such a powerful point about trust just being built by visibility. So if you sell, let's say, high-performance running shoes. It's definitely not enough to just have a website with product listings.
Right.
Your content really needs to dive deep into things like latest shoe trends, maybe offer in-depth reviews of popular running shoes, or even provide, tips on choosing the right shoe for your specific running style or gait.
Exactly.
That's how you attract and actually educate visitors, building that recognition and hopefully a positive impression of your brand.
Yeah.
It's really about providing value beyond just the sale, isn't it?
Absolutely. That high-quality, relevant, helpful content serves a dual purpose. It acts as a magnet, pulling in the right visitors, and simultaneously it educates them. It builds that foundational layer of trust and brand recognition before they even think about buying. And beyond just awareness, there's a direct, undeniable impact on leads and sales. A HubSpot study revealed something truly astonishing. Businesses ranking in the top 3 positions for their target keywords generate an incredible 12 times more leads than those ranking just 7th or lower.
Wow, 12 times. Just dropping a few spots makes that much difference.
Yes, 12 times. Just think about that for a moment. The difference between position 3 and position 7 on a Google search results page could literally mean the difference between thriving and just, surviving for your business. It's a massive, quantifiable difference in actual business growth.
12 times more leads.
Yeah.
That's almost unbelievable, honestly.
Yeah.
It really underscores how vital those top spots are. It's not just about ego points, it's about the bottom line.
Totally.
And it feeds directly into that improved credibility we were just talking about. A high Google ranking just inherently enhances a website's trustworthiness in the eyes of the consumer.
It truly does. And another compelling statistic, this one's from a Search Engine Land study, shows that 93% of consumers consider the first page of Google search results to be a reliable source of information.
93%.
Yeah. So this isn't just about showing up. It's about establishing your brand as a trustworthy, authoritative voice in your specific field. And to achieve that, beyond having just stellar content, building backlinks from other high-quality, relevant websites is absolutely crucial.
Backlinks, right?
These backlinks are essentially like votes of confidence from other reputable sites in your niche. They signal to Google that your content is valuable and actually worth endorsing.
So sticking with our running shoe seller example, this would mean strategically maybe guest blogging on reputable fitness or sports science blogs.
Perfect example.
Or maybe actively participating in online running forums where you can offer genuinely helpful advice and, maybe link back to your resources when it's appropriate. Or submitting your site to relevant industry directories.
Exactly. All of those. It's all about getting those authentic endorsements from other trusted voices in your niche, basically building this web of credibility around your brand online.
Okay.
Precisely. Each quality backlink, especially from a respected source, it signals to Google that your site is a valuable, authoritative resource within its ecosystem. It's really a testament to your credibility, which in turn reinforces your trustworthiness right there in the search results.
And what's truly remarkable here is that Google doesn't just expect you to figure out all these complex ranking factors and then leave you guessing in the dark.
Yeah, thankfully.
They actually give you powerful tools to track and improve your performance.
Yeah.
It's almost like they hand you the roadmap. You just, have to know how to read it. Let's talk about Google Search Console.
Yes, Google Search Console. It's truly a treasure trove for any website owner, any digital marketer. Its core purpose is basically to help you monitor, maintain, and troubleshoot your site's presence and performance directly within Google search results. Think of it like Google's direct line of communication to you about your website's health.
And just setting it up, that's the absolutely foundational first step, right? You have to verify you own the site to unlock all those incredibly useful features.
That's absolutely right. And once you've added and verified your site, the crucial next step, and honestly one that's often overlooked, is consistent, regular monitoring of your reports. Swiftly identifying any, let's call them hiccups, related to your site's indexing, how it's performing in search, or even security vulnerabilities, that's paramount. These reports aren't just passive data points. They are direct calls to action from Google.
Right. They're telling you what's wrong.
Exactly. Actively taking action on the issues they report directly addresses tactical problems, maybe in your web design or your content marketing, that might be limiting your visibility and your potential reach.
So it becomes this incredibly powerful kind of continuous feedback loop then. You use the precise information you get from Search Console to inform and continuously improve your overall content strategy, your website design, making sure you're always aligned with Google's, evolving expectations.
That's the ideal scenario, yes.
So what are some of the most crucial reports and tools within Search Console that listeners should really be paying close attention to, beyond maybe just the basics?
Okay, well, the Performance tab is an absolute goldmine. It shows you a wealth of data, impressions. That's how often your site appears in search results clicks, obviously, and your average position data for specific search queries. And you can really delve into how your website performs for different queries in different countries, even across various languages. That's absolutely vital if you're targeting a global audience or even just specific different locales. Understanding these metrics helps you pinpoint exactly where your efforts are paying off and, maybe more importantly, where there are opportunities for improvement.
Okay.
Another critical area is index coverage. This report tells you which of your pages Google has actually indexed, and more importantly, it identifies any errors that might be preventing your pages from appearing in search results at all.
That sounds pretty crucial.
It is. And this is where the URL inspection tool becomes invaluable. Let's say you've just published new content or you've updated a really important page. You don't want to wait potentially weeks or even months for Google to get around to recrawling it naturally.
Right, you want it seen now.
Yeah, exactly. This tool lets you check the live version of a URL, see how Google renders it, and crucially, you can request manual indexing for those important updates. It's a real game changer for getting fresh, critical content recognized quickly by Google.
That immediacy does sound incredibly powerful, especially for any business that relies on timely content.
It truly is. And beyond that, the mobile usability report is absolutely essential today. With the vast majority of searches now happening on mobile devices, this report shows you exactly how your site performs on mobile.
Yeah.
If Google identifies issues here, things like text being too small to read, elements too close together to tap, or maybe just slow loading on mobile, it can definitely impact your rankings, and it certainly impacts your user experience. Addressing these issues ensures a smooth experience for all those mobile users, which Google highly, highly prioritizes.
Makes sense.
And finally, the security issues report. This helps you identify and fix any vulnerabilities, things like malware infections or evidence of hacking attempts that Google might have found on your site. A compromised site is just a really quick path to losing trust and rankings, so this report is critical for maintaining a healthy, secure online presence.
Okay, so that's how Google sees your site from the outside, technically. But you also need to understand how your visitors are actually interacting with it once they get there.
Absolutely.
And that's where Google Analytics 4, or GA4, comes in. How should we best use this, well, pretty powerful tool to gain those deeper insights into our audience's behavior?
Yeah, GA4 is basically your window into understanding your audience's journey and their engagement once they're on your website. Its core purpose is really to help you track your marketing effectiveness, understand visitor interactions in a much more event-driven way than, say, the older Universal Analytics.
Right, it's different.
It is different, and it helps you pinpoint precise areas for improvement. It's less about just looking at raw traffic numbers in isolation, and much more about truly granular behavior and the whole user life cycle.
So for website owners, what are some of the key capabilities within GA4 that they should really be leveraging to help inform their strategy?
Okay, first, you can identify your website's most popular pages and content using the Pages and Screens report. This shows you exactly which pieces of content are resonating most with your audience, maybe how long they're spending there, and what actions they take next. This gives you direct insights for optimizing the content you already have and informing what kind of content you should create in the future.
Okay.
Secondly, and this is perhaps most critical for businesses, GA4 lets you track your website's conversion rates. Now, a conversion rate is simply the percentage of visitors who take a desired action that could be making a purchase, signing up for a newsletter, downloading a white paper, or even just watching a specific important video.
Right, the goal.
Exactly, the goal. GA4 offers really powerful capabilities to define and track these custom conversion events over time, giving you a much clearer picture of your actual business success metrics.
And once you're tracking those conversions, it's really about drilling down into that data, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not enough just to see the numbers. You need to understand the story behind them.
Exactly. You nailed it. You need to analyze your conversion data to uncover those actionable insights. Look at which marketing channels are driving the most conversions. Is it your organic search traffic, paid ads, social media efforts, email marketing? Understand the devices your converting visitors are using. Are they converting more often on mobile or desktop? and critically identify the specific pages or maybe the steps in a process that lead to those conversions. This information is pure gold for informing strategic improvements to your site, optimizing where you spend your marketing budget, and refining your overall user experience.
It sounds incredibly powerful, but I bet people commonly make some significant mistakes with GA4
Oh,
too.
definitely. Despite its power, yes.
Like what are the biggest missteps people should try to avoid?
Well, not setting up proper goals or conversion events right from the outset is a huge one. Without them, you're basically flying blind. You don't know what success looks like.
Right.
Failing to track your traffic sources effectively means you don't actually know where your valuable visitors are coming from. Neglecting to track the actual conversions that are relevant to your business means you just can't measure your return on investment.
Yeah.
And perhaps most commonly, and maybe most frustratingly, is people just not regularly reviewing their reports, or maybe only glancing at the top-level dashboard metrics without digging any deeper. If you're not consistently engaging with your GA4 data, asking questions of it, you're absolutely missing out on critical insights that could genuinely transform your online performance and ultimately your revenue. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how artificial intelligence, particularly these large language models like Google Gemini, are fitting into this really complex picture now.
AI.
Yeah. They're emerging not really as a replacement for human creativity and expertise, but more as a powerful assistant if they're understood and applied correctly.
That seems like a crucial distinction. So what exactly is Gemini? I know it used to be, or was part of, the BART initiative, right?
That's right. Gemini is essentially Google AI's most capable and comprehensive large language model, or LLM. It's trained on a truly massive and diverse dataset: text, code, images, audio, video, enabling it to process and generate information across all these different modalities.
Okay.
Its capabilities are pretty extensive. It can help outline complex topics, generate coherent and contextually relevant text, translate languages with, frankly, impressive accuracy, write different kinds of creative content like poems or scripts, and answer your questions in a really informative and nuanced way.
That does sound like it has the potential to seriously change up content creation workflows. But you mentioned it's an assistant, not a replacement.
Right.
So what's its role in content strategy? Is it there to inspire, or is there to just automate everything?
Yeah. The key distinction, and Google themselves emphasizes this, is inspire, not replace. Gemini can powerfully inspire the creation of high-quality content that's more likely to rank well, provided, and this is the big caveat, that content genuinely aligns with Google's EEAT principles.
Right, EEAT, yeah.
Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust,
Sure.
which we'll definitely dive into in depth shortly. So, for example, it can help brainstorm ideas, structure outlines, or even generate initial drafts. It can also support things like backlink generation by maybe assisting with drafting guest posts for other authoritative websites, or generating compelling social media content that subtly links back to your core website.
Okay.
But Google's guidance here is crystal clear. Regardless of whether content is produced entirely by AI or entirely by humans or some combination, success in Google search unequivocally hinges on producing original, high-quality, people-first content that demonstrates real EET. AI is a tool, a powerful one, to amplify human creativity and efficiency, not to somehow bypass the fundamental need for genuine value.
That makes perfect sense. So it's a powerful tool, but it's in the human's hands, not the other way around.
Exactly.
For listeners who are curious, maybe thinking about experimenting, what are some practical tips for using Gemini effectively to enhance their content efforts without falling into that low-effort trap Google warns about?
Okay, good question. My top advice would be specific in your questions or prompts. The more precise and detailed your instructions are, the better Gemini will understand what you need, and the more relevant its output is likely to be. Think of it like briefing a highly intelligent intern. You need to give clear instructions.
Right.
Use natural language. Gemini is trained on vast amounts of natural text, and it understands conversational queries remarkably well. Be patient and be prepared to iterate. These models are still under development, they're constantly improving, but they may not always generate the perfect response on the very first try. Don't be afraid to refine your prompts or ask follow-up questions. And most importantly, and I really cannot stress this enough, always review, fact-check, and edit the responses thoroughly to infuse your own personal experience, your unique voice, and your true expertise. That human touch, that layer of genuine insight and originality, that's non-negotiable for true quality and for Google to recognize your content as valuable.
So we've talked a lot about what to do, but what about the other side? What are some of the biggest, most common traps people fall into when trying to rank with Google, maybe even subtly, that can severely hinder their success?
That's a crucial point, because many businesses think they're playing by the rules, but they might be making subtle mistakes that Google actively penalizes. First and foremost, excessive use of keywords or phrases, what we commonly call keyword stuffing.
Oh, the old ways.
The old ways, exactly. While keywords are still important contextually, simply jamming them into your content repetitively, unnaturally, it just no longer works. Google's algorithm is far too sophisticated now. It looks for natural language, contextual relevance, and genuine value. It will actively penalize sites that try to manipulate rankings through this kind of over-optimization, often resulting in lower visibility or even, in severe cases, de-indexing.
Okay.
Second, and this one's maybe a bit more subtle, creating content that lacks genuine relevance to the targeted keywords. If your page's title or meta description promises information about, say, sustainable fashion trends, but then the actual content just pivots to generic clothing sales without really addressing the sustainability or trend aspect, users are going to quickly bounce off that page.
Right, because it didn't answer their question.
Exactly. Google notices this disconnect between the promise and the reality, and it will likely demote your page for failing to meet that user intent.
Makes sense.
Third, neglecting to build backlinks from other reputable websites. As we discussed earlier, these are crucial votes of confidence. Without a healthy and, importantly, natural backlink profile, your site's authority and credibility in your niche are significantly diminished. That makes it much harder to rank, even if you have great content. And this isn't just about quantity of links, it's about the quality and relevance of the sites linking to you.
Quality over quantity, always.
Always. And finally, failing to optimize your title tags and meta descriptions. These are essentially your storefront window right there in the Google search results. They are absolutely crucial because they're the very first thing users see.
Right, your first impression.
Exactly. If your titles aren't compelling or your meta descriptions don't accurately reflect your content and entice users to click, they will simply skip right over you, even if your underlying content is absolutely stellar. A low click-through rate from the search results is a direct signal to Google that your page isn't the best fit for that query, regardless of its ranking position. It directly impacts your needs met rating, which we'll definitely discuss soon.
That's a great overview of common pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, beyond just the tools and avoiding these common mistakes, what does this all mean for your content and website for the listener? How does Google truly judge a page's worth beyond just its technical setup or the keywords it uses?
This brings us squarely into Google's deeper, more qualitative assessment mechanism, page quality rating, often abbreviated as PQ. The primary objective of PQ rating is fundamentally to evaluate how well a web page genuinely achieves its intended purpose and, crucially, serves the user. It's about much more than just keywords or backlinks. It's about the holistic value, the trustworthiness, and the overall helpfulness of a page for its intended audience.
And when Google looks at a page, it kind of breaks it down into three core distinct parts, doesn't it? I find this breakdown really helps understand where you should focus your quality efforts.
That's absolutely correct. First, there's the main content, MC. This is any part of the page that directly helps it achieve its purpose. Think of it as the core reason the page exists in the first place. This includes the text itself, images, videos, maybe interactive features like calculators, or even user-generated content like product reviews or comment sections. So if a page's purpose is to sell shoes, the MC would be the product descriptions, the images, the price, the add to cart buttons. If it's a recipe page, the MC is the actual recipe, the ingredients list, and the cooking instructions.
Got it. The core stuff.
The core stuff.
Yeah.
Then you have supplementary content, SC. This contributes to a good user experience, but doesn't directly fulfill the page's main purpose. This includes things like navigation links that help users explore other parts of your site, maybe links to related articles or an internal search function. They enhance the overall experience, they make the site more usable, but they aren't the primary reason the user landed on that specific page.
Okay, helpful but not essential to the page's goal.
Precisely. And finally, advertisement monetization, ads. This is any content displayed primarily for making money, often through banner ads, sponsored content sections, or affiliate links. Now, crucially, the mere presence or absence of ads alone is not a reason for a high or low quality rating. Many high-quality websites couldn't exist without some form of monetization.
Right.
The key is how they are presented. Are they overly intrusive? Do they obstruct the main content? Do they mislead the user in any way? It's their presentation and their relationship to the MC that influence influences the quality rating, not just their existence.
Okay, that's a really important clarification about ads.
Yeah.
So this raises a really important question then. If quality isn't just about tools or the presence of ads, how does Google truly define quality in the content itself? This must be where EAT comes in, right?
Yeah.
Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust.
Exactly. This framework, EEAT, is absolutely foundational to Google's entire ranking philosophy and their quality assessment.
And I know we touched on it, but trust is really considered the cornerstone of EET, isn't it? It feels like the ultimate kind of non-negotiable factor in the whole equation.
You are absolutely right. Trust is not just important. Google explicitly states it is the most critical member of this EET family. An untrustworthy page will fundamentally have a low EET rating, regardless of how experienced or expert its creators might seem on the surface. For instance, think about an expert scammer. Despite their clear expertise in deception, they are still utterly untrustworthy, and their content would rightly be rated poorly by Google's guidelines. Trust fundamentally means accuracy, honesty, safety, and reliability.
Okay.
Consider online stores. They need demonstrably secure payment systems and a reliable, accessible customer service to be deemed trustworthy. Or think about product reviews. To genuinely build trust, they must be honest and authentically written to help others make informed decisions, not simply to promote a product for personal gain. A review from someone who clearly hasn't used the product, or worse, is maybe paid to give a fake, glowing review that quickly erodes trust.
Yeah, you can often spot those. So how do the other elements of EEAT, the experience, the expertise, and the authoritativeness, how do they fit into this intricate puzzle? And how do they all work together with trust?
Okay, let's break them down. Experience refers to the extent to which the content creator has actual firsthand or lived experience with the topic they're discussing. Think about a product review written by someone who has genuinely used the item for several months, documenting its pros and cons from their personal interaction.
Right, they've lived it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe advice on recovering from a specific medical condition from someone who has successfully gone through that very journey themselves. This personal perspective adds immense value, relatability, and often unique insights.
Okay.
Then there's expertise. This signifies having the necessary knowledge or skill for the topic at hand. To illustrate, imagine you're looking for advice on rewiring your home's electrical system. You would, and absolutely should, trust that information far more coming from a skilled, certified electrician with years of practical experience. You certainly would not trust that same advice from, say, an antique homes enthusiast who maybe loves old houses but has absolutely no electrical knowledge. The expertise here is technical, specific, and often needs to be credentialed or demonstrable.
Makes sense.
Finally, authoritativeness. This is the degree to which the content creator, or sometimes the entire website, is known and recognized as a go-to source for that particular topic. This could be an official government page for passport renewal information that's a unique, official, and therefore the most authoritative source. Or it could be a local business's official social media profile, providing information about its current sales. That's the direct authoritative word straight from the business itself. It's really about being recognized and respected as a leading voice or a definitive source within a particular domain or niche.
It sounds like these elements, experience, expertise, authoritative, they can often overlap, right?
Yeah.
And the specific context of the search query and the type of content really dictates which element might be the most critical in that situation.
Precisely. Like for a breaking news story, authoritativeness and maybe expertise from established journalists would be paramount, right?
Right.
Experience, expertise, and authoritativeness can and very often do overlap. Someone might develop profound expertise in a topic directly as a result of their firsthand experience accumulated over many years, which in turn solidifies their authoritativeness in that field.
Okay.
The specific combination of EET that's needed always varies significantly depending on the topic and the purpose of the page. You should always be asking yourself, given the nature of this content, what would make the content creator and the website most trustworthy and effective in this particular context? For a sensitive medical topic, clear expertise and authoritativeness from accredited medical sources are absolutely critical. But for, say, a personal blog reviewing a local coffee shop, direct experience and an honest personal opinion might be much more salient and valuable to the reader.
Okay. And this is where it gets really tricky, I imagine. How does Google actually assess EEAT? It can't just take a website's word for it, can it? I mean, like you said, anyone can claim to be an expert online.
That's a critical point, and it's where Google's sophistication and, frankly, the work of their human quality raters, really comes into play. While you should certainly start by examining what the website or the content creators say about themselves, perhaps on an About Us page, a dedicated author profile page, or maybe a company mission statement, it is absolutely crucial to seek independent verification.
Okay, what others say?
Exactly. This means actively looking for external validation and reputation signals. Are there independent reviews of the website or the business on third-party sites? Have they been cited in reputable news articles or academic papers? Are there references or recommendations by other recognized experts in that specific field? You should always be, let's say, healthily skeptical of self-proclaimed greatness, especially when there's a clear potential conflict of interest. For example, a company claiming its own product is the best in the world without any independent reviews to back it up is inherently less authoritative than a product that's been reviewed positively by a neutral, respected consumer testing organization.
Right.
Google prioritizes information written by people or organizations with demonstrable real-world standing and reputation over, say, mere machine-compiled statistics or anonymous, unattributed content. And this reputation research should also be highly topic-specific. For medical information, you'd look for a reputation for rigorous medical expertise from reputable institutions or journals. For financial advice, you'd seek out signals of trust from certified financial planners or established financial news outlets. Credible reputation sources can include things like unbiased Wikipedia articles about the site or creator, reputable news articles mentioning them, respected industry blog posts citing their work, peer-reviewed magazine articles, authentic discussions in relevant forums, and ratings from independent third-party organizations. It's ultimately about finding out what the rest of the world, particularly those knowledgeable in the topic, says about you, not just relying on what you say about yourself.
That makes perfect sense. It's about external validation. So for a website to build that foundational trust and really demonstrate EEAT, it also needs to clearly communicate who is responsible for the site and its main content, right? Along with readily accessible contact information. This seems simple, but I bet it's often overlooked.
It is surprisingly often overlooked, and yet it's vital. This transparency isn't just good practice, it's absolutely vital for building user trust, especially for any site that handles sensitive user information or money. Think online stores, banks, financial advisors, health providers.
Right, high stakes.
Exactly. Users need clear, easy ways to identify the entity they're interacting with and to get help if a problem arises. So guide your listeners to look for those contact us, about us, customer service, or even sometimes editorial policy links. They're typically found in the header, footer, or maybe a sidebar of a website. Sometimes, if direct links aren't immediately visible, you might need to explore corporate site links or check their official social media pages. Making it easy for users to verify your legitimacy and reach out if they need to is just a fundamental trust signal that Google looks for.
Okay. Now, let's shift gears slightly and move into understanding page quality ratings on a spectrum, from the absolute lowest quality up to the highest. I think this really paints a clear picture of what Google is actively looking for and perhaps more importantly, what it's actively trying to filter out of its search results.
Indeed. Understanding the spectrum is crucial for anyone creating content. Starting right at the bottom with the lowest quality pages, these represent the most egregious red flags, things involving deception, spam, and outright harmful content. They encompass pages with a clear, harmful purpose. This means they are explicitly designed to deceive users, maybe spread malware, or cause direct harm, like phishing scams aimed at identity theft or various financial frauds. Also firmly in this lowest category are pages containing harmfully misleading information. This is content that, regardless of the creator's actual intent, misleads users in ways that can cause significant harm to people or society. This is particularly critical on YMYL Your Money, Your Life topics, where accuracy is absolutely paramount.
Right.
And this applies even if the creator genuinely believes the inaccurate information they're spreading. A classic example might be a fake news article, falsely claiming a celebrity has died, designed to look like a legitimate news site, but maybe lacking any dates, author information, or clear citations.
So even if the intent wasn't malicious, if the information itself is harmful and misleading, it still gets flagged as lowest quality. That's a really critical distinction.
Precisely. Intent doesn't excuse harmful outcomes in this context. Beyond that, untrustworthy characteristics are another major red flag for lowest quality. This includes things like inadequate or deliberately hidden information about the website or the content creator, especially for those important YMYL topics. Think of a medical advice site with no identifiable owner or author credential.
Sketchy.
Very sketchy. This also includes deceptive page design, like sites trying to mimic trusted brands to trick users, or the obvious presence of characteristics associated with scams, malicious downloads, or other harmful online behavior. And a huge characteristic Google flags is deliberately obstructed or obscured main content, MC.
Like annoying pop-ups.
Exactly, but often worse. This is where ads might perpetually cover the actual content you're trying to read. Or aggressive pop-ups coerce you into taking actions you don't want to. Or maybe interstitial pages force you to download something before you can see the content. Or sometimes the MC is pushed so far down the page by irrelevant ads or filler that users might miss it entirely. Even sneaky stuff like hiding MC using white text on a white background falls into this category. It's all about manipulating the user experience negatively and signals deep untrustworthiness.
Wow, okay. And what about the various forms of spam? I imagine that's just a constant battle for Google to deal with.
It is indeed a huge ongoing battle. Spammy web pages are also inherently considered lowest quality. This includes pages that have literally no MC. These are pages that exist solely to display ads with no helpful or original content whatsoever. They essentially disincentivize the creation of anything of actual value online.
Right, just ad farms.
Pretty much. Then there's something called site reputation abuse. This is a particularly insidious form of spam where, say, third-party content gets published on an otherwise reputable news site, often buried in a subfolder, specifically to gain the benefit of that site's established trust and ranking authority. This happens even if the main publisher isn't truly responsible for or even endorsing the content. Think of a sponsored content section where an advertiser writes what looks like an independent review of their own product, but it's presented almost like an editorial piece. That's a clear conflict of interest, exploits the host site's trust, and violates Google's guidelines.
That's a really tricky one for the average user to spot sometimes, but it makes perfect sense why Google would want to actively penalize it. It's basically exploiting trust that was earned by someone else.
It absolutely is. And then there's the big category of scaled content abuse. This refers to content that's produced with, and this is Google's phrasing, little to no effort, little to no originality, and little to no added value. This broad category includes things like repetitive, poorly written content, purely auto-generated content, or content that's just spun or lightly rewritten from other sources without any unique human insight or value added. For example, imagine a page about best dog toys that's clearly designed only for affiliate clicks, stuffed with keywords but offering no genuine helpful advice or original reviews. Or maybe an article titled something like "Chickens Tolerate Cold Weather" that contains bizarre, nonsensical sentences that were clearly generated by a machine with absolutely no human oversight or editing.
Yeah, you see that sometimes.
You do. Finally, under lowest quality, there's copied content. This applies if all or almost all of the main content on a page is copied, heavily paraphrased, embedded, or just reposted from other sources without adding little to no effort, originality, or added value.
So if I understand this correctly then, the use of generative AI tools alone does not automatically make a page lowest quality.
Correct.
You could, theoretically, create high-quality original artwork or maybe highly informative content using AI as a powerful assistant, provided it involves significant human effort, careful editing, fact-checking, and adding unique value.
That's the key.
But if AI is used primarily to create content with little to no effort, originality, or added value, basically, to churn out cheap content at scale that is considered lowest quality, it's really about the outcome and the human investment, not just the tool itself.
You've got it perfectly. It's all about the final output's quality, the human effort involved, and the expertise infused into it, not the specific tool used to get there. Okay, moving up slightly, we have low-quality pages. These are characterized by things like a mildly negative reputation, maybe inadequate EET for their intended purpose, or significant user experience issues that detract from the page's helpfulness, even if it's not outright harmful and spammy.
Okay, so not terrible, but definitely disappointing.
Exactly. Examples might include crafting tutorials that have large amounts of unhelpful filler content at the very top before you finally get to the actual instructions. Or maybe lists of product reviews that are just summarized from other sources with minimal original analysis or effort put in by the author. Similarly, informational articles on important health topics that lack clear evidence of expertise or proper citations would likely fall into this low-quality category. Also, pages with large amounts of unhelpful or visually prominent filler that make it genuinely hard to find the main content. Think of that classic example of a recipe page where you have to scroll endlessly through irrelevant personal stories or huge advertisements just to find the actual recipe ingredients and steps. That causes user frustration.
Yes, everyone hates those.
Everyone hates those. And pages where ads, supplementary content, or maybe interstitial pages significantly distract from or obstruct efficient access to the main content, even if the content itself isn't fundamentally terrible.
So frustrating, inconvenient, or just generally unhelpful experiences for the user are often the hallmark of these low-quality pages, even if they aren't outright spam or harmful.
Exactly. They disappoint the user rather than actively deceiving them. Then we move into the middle ground, medium quality pages. These pages generally achieve their purpose adequately, but they don't really stand out. They lack high levels of EET or significant originality or a truly positive reputation. They're accurate enough, but essentially unremarkable. They are neither particularly high nor particularly low quality.
Okay, kind of vanilla.
Pretty much. Think of a very basic recipe published on a local newspaper site that doesn't have any user reviews or original images or unique insights from the chef. Or maybe a simple informational page that is factually accurate but not particularly inspiring, comprehensive, or engaging. Nothing wrong, but nothing special is a really good way to describe them. They meet basic needs, but they don't exceed expectations in any way.
Okay. And what about the positive side of the spectrum? What does Google truly consider high quality? What are the specific attributes that push a page into this really desirable category?
Right. High-quality pages are characterized by having satisfying main content that achieves its purpose exceptionally well. They also need a demonstrably positive reputation for the website or the content creator and clear evidence of high EEAT relevant to the topic. These are the pages that provide genuine value and establish real credibility.
Right.
Examples could include a well-researched, insightful blog post on a reputable national newspaper written by a known expert in that field, or maybe a popular and trustworthy e-commerce site that provides detailed product information, abundant, genuine user reviews, and excellent, easily accessible customer service information. Or perhaps a well-produced, original video tutorial that comprehensively explains a complex topic with great clarity and engaging visuals. These pages go beyond just providing the basic information. They truly help and satisfy the user's needs.
So the absolute creme de la creme, then, must be the highest quality pages.
Yeah.
These sound like the gold standard, the real aspirational goal for anyone serious about creating outstanding online content.
Indeed. This rating is reserved for pages with very satisfying main content, created with very high levels of effort, originality, talent, or skill. They deliver an exceptional user experience and often represent a unique, definitive, or best-in-class source of information on a topic.
Wow.
They need to be supported by a very positive reputation. Think things like prestigious industry awards, widespread recommendations from renowned experts or professional societies in the field, or being universally recognized as perhaps the best source online for a particular topic. And naturally, they must exhibit very high EEAT. Examples could include award-winning investigative journalism that uncovers significant new truth, or official software company websites being the definitive source for their own software, like the Linux kernel archives being the absolutely authoritative source for the Linux kernel itself, or highly trustworthy medical reference sites, like those consistently rated top in the U.S. by organizations like U.S. News and World Report for their accuracy, depth, and comprehensiveness. These pages really exemplify the ultimate commitment to excellence, trustworthiness, and value in online content.
This brings us to a really crucial point that I think is often missed. Why people search in the first place? It's actually far more nuanced than just typing a few words into a search box, isn't it? There's a real complexity to understanding user needs and their underlying intentions that goes way beyond just looking at keywords.
Absolutely. That's a critical layer. People use search engines for an incredibly diverse range of tasks, and their underlying needs can vary dramatically from search to search, even for the same person. It can range from accomplishing a quick, simple task like finding out who directed a movie, to researching a really complex topic in depth for a long-term project, maybe planning an elaborate multi-country vacation, or, like our earlier example, undertaking a major home remodel. Searches can also be purely for entertainment, finding funny videos, looking up song lyrics, engaging with memes, or they can be for critical high-stakes life moments like searching what are the symptoms of a heart attack or how do I stop a bleeding wound. Each of these scenarios requires a fundamentally different type of search result to be truly helpful.
And crucially, different types of searches demand very different kinds of results. You absolutely wouldn't want the same kind of results for cute baby animal pictures, as you would for symptoms of a heart attack, obviously. The intent, the need behind the search, fundamentally shifts the expectation of what a good result looks like.
Precisely. For a serious medical search, the results must be high quality, highly authoritative, deeply trustworthy, and ideally actionable. For the cute baby animal pictures, the key is probably adorableness, variety, image quality, and perhaps shareability. And if someone is looking for a specific website, the most desired result should almost always be the official site right at the very top.
Right.
The underlying principle, though, which remains consistent across all these different intents, is that search results should always aim to help people. They should provide authoritative, trustworthy information or direct access to what the user needs, not serve up misleading, low-quality, or unhelpful content.
So decoding the query itself is all about deeply understanding the user's often hidden intentions. How does Google handle interpreting a query that might have multiple possible meanings, like a brand name that's also just a common noun, like Apple?
Yeah, that's a common challenge. Many queries do have more than one potential meaning, and Google refers to these as different query interpretations. So for your example, Apple, you might be looking for the technology company, or you might genuinely be looking for information about the fruit.
Right.
Google considers dominant interpretations, what most people likely mean when they type that, common interpretations, other frequent meanings, and sometimes less likely, minor interpretations. Context also matters profoundly here. A query like verbena, typed in Austin, Texas, could very strongly imply a popular local restaurant with that name, or it could mean the plant. But if you search for verbena while you're located in, say, a remote Alaskan village, it's almost certainly referring to the plant.
Okay.
The user's physical location, their recent search history, current events, and recent search trends can all dramatically change how a query is interpreted, and therefore what kinds of results are deemed most relevant for that specific user at that specific moment.
And meanings can evolve over time, too, right? Something that might have been a dominant interpretation a decade ago could be just a minor one today.
They certainly can and do. Think about searching for George Bush back in 1994 versus searching for it in 2004, or even searching for it today. Google understands that query meanings are dynamic and change over time. So unless the user specifies otherwise in their query, e.g. adding 1994 or fruit, Google generally assumes users are looking for current information, the most recent product model, or the most recent occurrence of an event. This concept of freshness is absolutely critical for many types of queries.
So how does Google categorize these nuanced user intents? This must be pretty critical for content creators to understand so they can align their content properly.
It is. We can generally categorize user intent into 4 main types, which definitely helps content creators align their efforts more effectively. First, you have no queries. These are users who are seeking information. It could range from simple facts like, how tall is Mount Everest, to really complex topics requiring in-depth explanation, such as, how does blockchain technology actually work? The primary goal here is to gain knowledge.
Okay.
Second, do queries. These users want to accomplish a specific task. This could be anything from watching a video tutorial, how to tie a tie, buying a product, by running shoes online, downloading a white paper or a piece of software, or signing up for a service or newsletter. The intent here is clearly actionable.
Got it. Do.
Third, website queries, sometimes called navigational queries. Users here are specifically trying to locate a particular website or even a specific web page on a site they already know. They often know the brand or site name and are just using Google as a quick navigation tool, like searching for Amazon or YouTube. The intent is direct navigation to a known destination. And fourth, visit in-person queries. These users are looking to visit a physical, real-world location. This includes all kinds of local searches like car repair shop near me, gas stations open now, or best Italian restaurants in downtown city name. The intent is local and navigational, but to a physical place, not a website.
Visit in person. Makes sense.
And it's also important to note that some queries, like a big brand name such as Walmart, can even have strong website and visit in-person intents simultaneously. In those cases, Google needs to provide search results that satisfy both needs, perhaps showing the official website link first, immediately followed by local store listings with maps and hours.
Okay, that covers the intent. So it's really about matching the search results to these nuanced user needs as precisely as possible. And that's where needs met ratings come into play, right? How exactly does Google assess how well a specific search result actually meets a user's need?
Yes. The needs met scale is essentially Google's internal system for evaluating how well a search result, or sometimes a specific block of results like a featured snippet, meets the user's underlying information need for that query. It ranges from fully meets, which represents the absolute best possible result, all the way down to fails to meet, which means the result is completely useless or possibly even harmful.
Okay.
So, fully meets FM signifies the absolute best possible result for the query, perfectly satisfying the user's intent. For a website query like YouTube, the official YouTube homepage appearing as the very first result would be fully meets. For a no query like how to tie a tie, perhaps a very clear, easy-to-follow, step-by-step video tutorial right at the top might be rated fully meets.
The perfect answer.
The perfect answer. Highly meets means the result is very helpful for any dominant, common, or even a reasonable minor interpretation of the query. It might not be the single perfect result, but it's highly valuable and satisfies the user's intent exceptionally well. Still very good. Moderately meets, means it's a helpful result, but it might have fewer valuable attributes than a highly meets result. Or perhaps it only partially satisfies the user's full need. It's adequate, it's useful, but it's not outstanding.
Got it.
Slightly meets, indicates a result that's less helpful, or maybe one that is only helpful for a pretty unlikely minor interpretation of the query. Often this happens if the title or the snippet shown in the search results is a bit misleading. Maybe it promises more than the actual landing page delivers, leading to user frustration when they click through.
The misleading title problem.
Exactly. And finally, fails to meet, failsism, means the result completely fails to meet the user's needs. It could be totally off topic, contain problematic content like spam or malware, or simply be entirely unhelpful for the query.
So setting accurate expectations right there in the search result. Block the title, the URL, the snippet that's absolutely vital then. A misleading or maybe exaggerated title that doesn't accurately reflect what's on the landing page would almost certainly get a low needs met rating, even if the content on the page itself has high page quality, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. That user experience begins right there on the search results page itself. If the title creates a false promise, the user's expectation is immediately unmet the moment they land on the page, leading to a poor needs met score and likely a very quick click back to the search results to try something else.
Right. A bounce.
Exactly. And there are also some crucial special considerations for needs met ratings. Stale content is a really big one. For queries that inherently demand freshness, think things like Los Angeles traffic right now or current product models such as iPhone 15 specs, outdated information is simply unhelpful. It can receive low needs met ratings, sometimes even fails to meet. Now, it's important to understand that while a technically stale page can still have a high page quality rating, for example, an archival news article from 2005 published on a reputable news site is still high quality for its historical context. Its needs met rating will be low if it doesn't meet the user's current information need for something fresh.
That's a key distinction between page quality and needs met.
It really is. They measure different things. And what about language? We've all seen content pop up in search results, sometimes in languages different from our primary one, even if we're searching in English.
Yeah, how does that work?
That's where the foreign language flag comes into play in the rating process. This flag is typically used when a page's main content language is not the task language, meaning the language the user searched in, nor a commonly used language in the user's current locale, nor English, which often serves as a default for many English-speaking locales. However, it's a nuanced consideration. Some foreign language content, like maybe a music video with lyrics in another language, or an international film clip without subtitles, can still be highly helpful and receive a high needs met rating, even if the user doesn't understand the language itself, because the visual or auditory experience is what they were seeking.
So the intent matters more than the language sometimes.
Exactly. Finally, and very importantly, problematic content, and this includes anything harmful, egregiously misleading, untrustworthy, spammy, or pornographic content, always receives a fails to meet rating, unless the query itself explicitly asks for such problematic content, which is obviously very rare. There are also other flags like upsetting, offensive, and not for everyone for content that may be unpleasant, graphic, or unsuitable for some audiences or public viewing settings. These indicate that while the content might not be overtly harmful like malware, it requires a warning or might not be universally desirable in the results.
Okay, wow. That's a lot of incredible detail on how Google thinks.
Yeah.
So boiling this all down, what does this truly mean for you, the listener, and your content marketing efforts? How do you take all these intricate guidelines from Google and actually translate them into a winning content strategy, one that not only ranks well, but also genuinely wins with your customers?
Yeah, if we connect all these different threads back to the bigger picture, it's unequivocally clear that Google's core message is incredibly consistent and, frankly, unwavering. Prioritize the user, build genuine trust, and provide profound, authentic value. This isn't just about pleasing search engines. This is the very essence of winning with your customers in today's digital age. The ultimate goal has to be creating content that deeply understands and genuinely serves the user's needs, builds trust through transparent and verifiable EEAT, and ultimately solves their problems or satisfies their desires better than anyone else.
That definitely sounds like a significant long-term commitment, though, not some kind of quick overnight fix. It feels like a complete paradigm shift for maybe how some people have approached SEO in the past.
It absolutely is, and that's an often overlooked nuance. Google's guidelines explicitly and increasingly penalize things like scaled content abuse and any content created with little to no effort, little originality, or little added value.
Right.
This means that a genuine sustained investment in building authentic EEAT and consistently providing high-quality content is absolutely paramount. Simply producing a large volume of low-quality, maybe keyword-stuffed content will not only not rank well anymore, but it can actually actively harm your site's overall visibility in the long run. And the digital landscape is also just incredibly dynamic, right? It's evolving almost daily, so your content strategy has to be equally adaptable. Continuous monitoring using tools like Search Console and analytics is absolutely necessary, as is constant adaptation based on the new data you see and any algorithm updates Google rolls out. And while tools like Gemini are powerful, as we discussed, they should always be leveraged responsibly for inspiration, for efficiency, not as some shortcut to bypass the essential human creativity, expertise, and editorial oversight that's required for truly high-quality content.
So for businesses listening, how can they bridge this theory to practical application? What are some concrete, actionable steps listeners can take, maybe starting today, to implement these principles into their own online presence?
Okay, great question. First, I'd strongly encourage listeners to actually audit their existing online presence, specifically through the EEAT lens. Go through your website, really scrutinize your About Us page, your author bios if you have them, your customer testimonials. Ask yourselves honestly, does this clearly and convincingly communicate our experience and expertise? Are we actively seeking and maybe showcasing independent reviews on third-party platforms? Where can we enhance our signals of trust and transparency? And remember, this isn't just about what you say about yourself, but crucially, what others are saying about you online.
Right, that external validation again.
Exactly. Second, optimize for diverse user intents. Don't just target keywords in isolation. Really think about the intention behind those keywords. Are you creating content that addresses all the relevant user intents for your products or services? Do you have informational content for those no queries, like how-to guides, what is X comparison articles? Do you have clear pathways and content for do queries, like buy Y, download Z, sign up for trial? Are you optimizing your homepage and key pages for website queries, branded searches? And if relevant, are you optimizing for visit in-person queries, local searches, maps integration, clear business hours? Each intent requires a slightly different type of content and optimization strategy. And third, maintain freshness and relevance. Regularly audit and update your content, especially pieces that need to be current things, covering newsy topics, product reviews for models that change, industry statistics, legal information. Timeliness is key for many queries. Stale content, even if it was high quality when it was first published, simply won't meet current user needs for those topics. This might involve setting a recurring schedule for content review and updates, or maybe even actively removing or consolidating outdated content that no longer serves a useful purpose.
That commitment to quality, to user centricity, it's exactly what we see in leading marketing partners who truly understand this digital landscape. For example, a company like Aspiration Marketing, they offer a comprehensive suite of services really designed to help businesses not just navigate this complexity, but truly excel in this environment.
Yes, absolutely. Aspiration marketing provides really concrete, real-world examples of how businesses can implement these sophisticated strategies effectively. Their core offerings, things like their content marketing services, their SEO services, web design, and inbound marketing programs, they directly align with creating that high-quality, relevant, EAT-rich content that Google clearly rewards and, maybe more importantly, that customers actually appreciate and want to engage with. Furthermore, their paid advertising, PPC, and smart marketing services are designed to complement these organic efforts, ensuring a more holistic, omni-channel approach to achieving online visibility and sustainable customer acquisition. They understand that a strong organic presence is absolutely foundational, but smart paid strategies can really amplify reach and accelerate growth when used correctly.
And they also seem to practice what they preach in terms of providing genuine value and establishing their own expertise and authority, don't they? I mean, their public resources seem like a fantastic example of a company truly embodying EAT themselves.
They absolutely do. That's a great point. Their publicly available resources, things like their extensive blog, their podcast, tools like their free website grader, checklists like the email marketing checklist, and various comprehensive guides, for instance. They have a specialized law firm marketing guide. These are all excellent examples of how a company can provide genuine, helpful value, not just for their direct clients, but for a much broader audience that's simply seeking knowledge in their field.
Right, building trust by being helpful.
Exactly. This commitment to being a reliable resource itself strongly demonstrates the very EET principles we've been discussing throughout our conversation today. And a really powerful illustration of this commitment is the fact that the Aspiration marketing blog publishes content daily in 7 different languages.
Wow, 7 languages daily. That's impressive.
It really is. This isn't just some marketing claim. It's clear evidence of a profound commitment to reaching incredibly diverse audiences across the globe and providing truly relevant, accessible content on a global scale. It perfectly exemplifies the highest standards of user centricity and EEAT that we've been talking about. It shows how they truly walk the talk of what Google values without being overtly salesy in their approach. They build trust by consistently being a helpful, authoritative source themselves.
So, okay, to kind of recap our deep dive today, we've really journeyed from understanding Google's core purpose and the essential tools it provides to empower website owners.
Like Search Console and GA4.
Right. All the way to dissecting the critical role of EET, that whole spectrum of page quality ratings from lowest to highest, and understanding the incredibly nuanced intentions behind every single search query someone makes.
And if there's maybe one final provocative thought to leave you, the listener, with, it's perhaps this. Ranking effectively with Google isn't merely some technical endeavor focused on manipulating algorithms or just chasing fleeting digital trends. It is really at its core fundamentally about deeply understanding your audience, genuinely serving them with integrity and transparency, and consistently providing valuable, high-quality content that builds lasting trust and solves their real-world problems or fulfills their needs.
It sounds like it's an ongoing, really unwavering commitment to relevance and excellence. And that's what ultimately wins you both those coveted search rankings and, crucially, the deep, lasting loyalty of your actual customers.
Well said.
So as you reflect on today's deep dive, think about what stands out most to you. What single insight, maybe, will you apply to your own content strategy and your online presence starting today to truly win in this ever-evolving digital landscape?
Thank you so much for joining us on the Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.